said Pilgrim, returning his greeting. "Where have you come from?" With a chuckle, 8 Rules said. "You blubbery codger. Since you've held down the cold beam of light, you must have caught the fiend." He's here," replied the aged star, smiling back at him. "I hope the 2 of you will spare his life." "That old fiend's not related to you, old brother," said Pilgrim. "Why are you speaking up for him?" "He happens to be my beast of burden," replied the aged star with a smile. "And sneaked here to turn into a fiend." "If he's a creature of yours," said Pilgrim, "ask him to change back to his true form for us to see." When he heard this, the aged star released the cold beam of light and shouted, "Cursed beast! Show your true form quickly, and we'll pardon your mortal offense." Rolling over, the fiend at once revealed himself as a white deer. "This cursed beast," said the aged star as he picked up the staff. "He has even managed to steal my staff." Prostrate on the ground, the white deer could not utter a word. All he did was kowtow and shed tears. You see, his whole body striped like a token of jade. 2 upthrust horns like 7 jagged blades. In hunger he would the herb garden seek, and drink in thirst from the cloud-swollen creek. Aged, he had the power of flight attained, and o'er the years a face that changed he gained. When he at this time hears his master's call, he'll show his form and in submission fall. After the aged star had thanked Pilgrim, he mounted the deer to leave, only to be grabbed by Pilgrim. "Old brother," he said, "please don't leave yet. There are 2 unfinished matters." "What sort of unfinished matters?" asked the aged star, and Pilgrim said, "We have yet to catch the beautiful girl, who must be some kind of fiendish creature, and we must return together to report to that befuddled ruler of the Bikyu kingdom." "If you put it that way," said the aged star, "I'll be patient and wait a while. You and Heavenly Reeds go inside the cave and capture the beautiful girl. Then we can go together to let the king see these creatures in their true forms." "Just wait a moment, old brother," said Pilgrim. "We'll be back soon." Arousing his spirit, 8 Rules followed Pilgrim into the pure fluorescence divine residence, both shouting, "Catch the monster spirit! Catch the monster spirit!" The beautiful girl was still shaking so violently that she could hardly think of fleeing. When she heard the shouts, she dashed behind the rock screen, but there was no back door for her to leave through. "Where are you going?" roared 8 Rules. "Watch my rake, you stinking, man-deceiving spirit." As the beautiful girl did not even have a weapon in her hand, she could only step aside and change at once into a cold beam of light to try to flee. She was, however, met by the great sage, who slammed his rod down hard on the beam. Immediately the fiend tumbled to the ground and revealed her true form, that of a white-faced vixen. Unable to hold back his hands, our idiot raised his rake and gave her head a terrific blow. Alas! The smile that shakes a city and a state into a hairy, lumpish fox is made. "Don't mash her up," cried Pilgrim. "Leave her body for that befuddled ruler to see." Not bothered by the filth, our idiot took her by the tail and yanked her body along to follow Pilgrim out the door. The aged star at that moment was just rubbing the deer's head and scolding him. "Dear cursed beast," he cried. "How could you turn your back on your master and come here to be a spirit? If I hadn't arrived, you would have been struck to death by the great sage sun." "What are you saying, old brother?" asked Pilgrim as he bounded out. "Just instructing the deer. Just instructing the deer," replied the aged star. Throwing the dead vixen in front of the deer, 8 Rules asked, "Is this your daughter?" Nodding his head a few times, the deer stretched out his muzzle to sniff her and bleated several times, as if he could not bear parting with the vixen. He was given a whack on the head by the aged star, who said, "Cursed beast! Isn't it enough that you got your life? Why smell her?" He then untied the sash of his robe and fastened it around the neck of the deer to drag him along. "Great sage," he said, "I'll go see the big you king with you." "Just a moment," replied Pilgrim. "We might as well clean out the inside first, so that this place will not breed any more monstrosity in the years to come." When he heard this, 8 Rules lifted up his rake and showered blows on the willow trunk. Pilgrim recited again the magic word O to summon the local spirit, to whom he gave this instruction: "Find me some dried wood and make a good fire. I am trying to rid this place of monstrous calamity, so that you may be spared from any further oppression." Turning round, the local spirit mounted gusts of cold winds with his ghostly troops to gather some frost-receiving grass, autumn green grass, smart weeds, mountain bud grass, dried southern wood, dried dragon bones, and dried rushes, all withered plants that had been parched for more than a year and that could feed a fire like oil or fat. 8 Rules. Pilgrim cried. "No need to take the tree. Just stuff these things into the cave and light the fire. We'll destroy the place." As soon as the fire started, it did indeed turn the pure fluorescence monster residence into a flaming pit. He then dismissed the local spirit before returning to face the king in the royal hall, accompanied by the aged star leading the deer and 8 Rules dragging the dead vixen. Pilgrim said to the king, "Here's your queen beauty. You want to dally with her some more?" The bladder of the king quivered and his heart shook, and then his queens and consorts were all frightened into bowing by the sight of the aged star leading the white deer. Pilgrim went forward to raise up the king, saying to him with a chuckle, "Don't bow to me. Here's your father-in-law. You should bow to him." Terribly embarrassed, the king could only murmur, "I thank the divine monk's heavenly grace for saving the boys of my nation." He at once ordered the court of imperial entertainments to prepare a huge vegetarian banquet. The East Hall was opened wide, so that the old man of South Pole, the Tang monk, and his 3 disciples could be seated to receive proper thanks. After Tripitaka and Sha monk bowed to greet the aged star, they both asked, if the white deer belonged to the venerable aged star, how could it get here to harm people? The aged star answered, smiling, "Some time ago, the supreme ruler of the East passed by my mountain, and I asked him to stay for chess. Hardly had we finished one game when this cursed beast ran away. When we couldn't find him after the guest's departure, I calculated by bending my fingers and realized that he had come to this place. I came to search for him and ran into the great sage just in the process of demonstrating his power. If I had come a little later, this beast would have been finished." Hardly had he spoken when the report came that the banquet was ready. Marvelous vegetarian banquet. The doorways decked with 5 colors. The seats full of strange fragrance. Tables draped with glowing brocade damask. Floors spread with luminous red carpets. From duck-shaped urns curled smoke of sandalwood incense. Before the royal table came the fresh scent of vegetables. Look at the fruit croque en bouche on the dish. The sweet pastries shaped like dragons or beasts. Mandarin duck cakes. And lion candies. All looked so real. The parrot goblet. And the egret handle. All seemed lifelike. Every fruit item on display was rich. Every maigre dish on the table was fine. Robustly round chestnuts. Fresh lychees and peaches. Dates and persimmons with the sweetest flavor. Pine seed and grape wines of the mellowest scent. Several kinds of honey-glazed food. And a few steamed pastries. Viands deep-fried or sugar-coated. Made like blossoms or brocade. Huge buns piled high on golden trays. Fragrant rice filled many silver bowls. Hot and spicy, the long rice noodles cooked in soup. Potently scented, one bowl or dish after another. You could not describe all the mushrooms. The wood ears, the tender shoots, the yellow sperms. Vegetables of 10 varieties. And 100 rare delicacies. Presented back and forth without a pause. were all kinds, all species of rich fare. At the time, they took their seats according to rank. The aged star occupied the head table, while the elder remained next to him. The king went to the table in front, and Pilgrim, 8 rules, and Sha monk sat on one side. There were 3 other chief ministers on both sides to keep them company. As the office of music was told to begin the serenade, the king held up his purple mist cup to toast each person in turn, though the Tang monk was the only one who did not drink. 8 rules then said to Pilgrim, "Elder brother, I'll leave the fruits to you, but you must let us enjoy rice, soup, and the rest." Without regard for good or ill, that idiot attacked the foodstuff madly and ate it up in no time at all. After the banquet was over, the aged star got up to leave, but the king went forward to kneel to him to beg for a method that would eliminate illness and lengthen his years. With a smile, the aged star said, "I was looking for my dear, and I didn't bring along any elixir or herbs. I would have liked to impart to you the formula for cultivation, but your tendons have so deteriorated and your spirit has been so impaired that it would be impossible for you to accomplish the reversion of the elixir. In my sleeve here, however, are 3 fire dates which were the presents of the supreme ruler of the East for my tea. I haven't eaten them yet, and I would like to give them to you now." After the king had swallowed the dates, he felt as if a great weight had been lifted gradually from his body as his illness receded. In fact, the longevity those descendants of his later attained might be traced to this. When 8 rules saw that the king had received such a gift, he cried out, "Old age, if you have any more fire dates, give me some, too." "I haven't brought any more along," replied the aged star. "Another day I'll send you a few pounds." He walked out of the East Hall, and having thanked his host once more, he ordered the white deer to stand up and leapt onto its back. They both rose immediately into the air and left treading on the clouds. The ruler, his consorts, and the populace of the city all bowed to the ground and burned incense. Then Tripitaka said, "Disciples, start packing so that we may take leave of the king." The king, however, begged them to stay and instruct him. "Your Majesty," said Pilgrim, "from now on you must lessen your sensual pursuits and increase instead your unpublicized good deeds. In all affairs you should allow your strength to compensate for your weakness, and you will find that this is quite sufficient to stave off sickness and lengthen your life. Such is the instruction I have for you." Thereafter the king also presented them with 2 trays of gold and silver pieces as travel money, but the Tang monk refused to accept even a penny. The king had no alternative but to send for his imperial cortege, and asked the Tang monk to be seated on the phoenix carriage in the dragon chariot. He and his consorts all put their hands on the carriage and pushed it out of the court. At the same time, all the main boulevards were lined with citizens who added pure water to their sacrificial vases and true incense in the urns to send the pilgrims out of the city. Just then, a roar of the wind from midair brought down to both sides of the road 1,111 geese coops, with some crying young boys inside. The local spirit, city god, god of the soil, immortal officials, the guardians of 5 quarters, the 4 sentinels, the 6 gods of darkness and 6 gods of light, and the guardians of monasteries who gave secret protection to the children all announced in a loud voice, "Great sage, you told us previously to take away these boys in the geese coops. Now that your merit has been achieved and you are about to leave, we have brought them back one by one." The king, the queens, and all the citizens bowed down as Pilgrim said to the air, "I thank you all for your help. Please return to your shrines, and I will ask the people to offer you their thanksgiving sacrifices." Sighing and soughing, the gust of cold wind rose once more and then quickly subsided. When Pilgrim then asked the households of the city to come retrieve their children, the news was spread abroad at once, and all the people came to identify and claim the boys in the coops. In great delight, they were lifted out of the cages, hugged, and addressed as "Darling" and "Precious." Jumping about and laughing, the people all shouted, "We must take hold of the holy fathers of the Tang court and bring them back to our homes. We must thank them for this profound act of kindness." And so the people went forward, young and old, male and female, without the slightest fear of how ugly the pilgrims might look. They hauled Ju 8 rules up bodily, they put Sha Monk on their shoulders, they supported the great sage Sun with their heads, and they lifted up Tripitaka with their hands. Leading the horse, and toting the luggage, they surged back to the city. Not even the king could restrain them. While one family gave a banquet, another prepared a feast. Those who did not have time to take their turns made priestly caps and sandals, clerical robes and cloth stockings, and all manner of inner and outer garments to be presented as gifts. Indeed, the pilgrims had to linger for nearly a month in that city before they could leave. Before their departure, the people also made portraits of them, with their names inscribed on plaques below the pictures, so that perpetual sacrifices and incense could be offered. Truly it was that. This secret good deed, weighty as a mount, has saved 100 and 1,000 lives. We do not know what happened thereafter. Let's listen to the explanation in the next chapter.